Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Synthise. Thank you for choosing this program. I hope you enjoy the rest. So, Synthise, you're going to see a bunch of things. It might be a little intimidating at first, but it'll be fine. You're not going to use half of the things here yet. So, you're going to have the little floppy disk to save, undo, redo, etc., etc. I could go on for days and explain all these things, but I'll explain what we do and we don't use. So summary, this will never be used. Don't touch it. Auto is not ideal. That's for very simple shots in a fairy tale world that doesn't exist. Roto masking, I've never used it in my whole career. I would not roto ever. That's more for auto tracking or in blips. Blips is cool. We're going to get to it in the later chapters. It's very ideal for different things. What we're going to use mostly is Tracker tab, Solver, and 3D tab. The three most important things. Everything else will be a keyboard shortcut and never used. So, what is the meaning of tracking? So, we see a shot like this and we say, well, what's the point? So the point is we're getting this 2D image. It's flat. And we're going to be giving points for the computer to then calculate the parallax. And what parallax is you see this background, you see this foreground? You see that motion? It's the motion that we're trying to capture. That's basically what we're trying to achieve. We're trying to get the computer to understand that this is the back, this is the front, this is in the middle. And by doing points, we're going to get that 3D solve. We're going to make this 2D image into a 3D world. So then we could later do our robots coming out of here or a gremlin crawling out from this. Like, it's a lot of things we could do. But to first achieve it, we have to make a camera into the 3D world. So it's a very fun journey. I hope you enjoy it. The basis of this is going to be to make a background trackers, things in the midground, and then things in the foreground to help us achieve this. So then we're going to have this 3D built into it. So as you can see here, we're going to end up with this as the result to then put our stuff in. So we're going to be the foreground or the basis of the pipeline. After people shoot their footage and stuff, we're going to get the plates, and then we're going to be able to make movie magic happen. So I hope you enjoy it. It's going to be a fun ride. It's going to be a bit of thinking now and then, but a lot of it's very, very, very easy to do. And we're going to start off with this trackers tab. First thing we're going to do is learn how trackers work. So we're going to understand what an ideal tracker is supposed to be. So maybe we think this is a great spot to track, and it's pretty good. It's in the foreground. It's moving at a good pace. But it disappears, so it's not really in the whole scene. Don't worry about it. As long as it's for most of the scene, it's a pretty good tracker. So like this guy is pretty good. We don't really see him in this footage, but we're gonna be able to use things like high pass, and this is gonna help us so much in the future. It's gonna help us crunch out some of that footage, so we're gonna be able to see what we don't really see without this. So we're gonna crunch numbers, kind of like Photoshop, and brightness, contrast, or levels or grading. We're gonna get those pixels to kind of form into readable things. So we're going to see how we're going to store things, see how we view things, and prep it into a way that is easy for the computer to handle and for us to see. So after doing points, we're going to be able to get some 3D models in and get a camera to then later give out to the pipeline. So that's the basis of what we're supposed to do. There's tons of things aside from this, like object tracking and match moving. I'm going to cover mostly tracking and how we're going to get the camera to even exist, as well as some object tracking concepts and theories. So a lot of it is useful. A lot of it can be applied to different sectors of the pipeline, like animation or modeling. So it's going to be a bit of like a man with many hats. So be ready for this and be very cool, very prompt. So one thing I do want to stress is how we use these things. So good tracker, pretty good. Bad tracker would be so rules of the game: make trackers for the computer to read, and then it solves something that we can then use. And the way to make trackers: make a tracker. Let's see a good thing to track. A very easy thing. Let's get I don't know. Let's get this guy, I guess. We can move the thing in place here using this window, or we can even use this to shrink it and move it as well. It's up to you how you want to use it. So the center one is what we're tracking, and this is how far for the tracker to be used. So if we go left a bit, it's going to be using the search region to try to find this, whatever we try to track. And don't worry about the shortcut keys or what I'm doing so far. This is mostly for the concept of what we're trying to track. And the basis of this is to get a tracker and then move on. So as you saw, I was using a tracker to the most finest part, and then this region to be able to search for the tracker. If I do too small, it might not recognize how it's moving. So you see how it pops off? It's because I'm not using too much of a search region. It's not going to be able to look for this kind of pattern. And there's several ways to make trackers. You can make one with this, or make one with this. And this is going to make one so it focuses on a black dot. So if I hit spacebar, it flies away. Let's try to make this bigger for it to search. And it works pretty well. We can also use the white dot for these kind of white regions over here. Does it want to stick? Well, that's fine. We can use it for other shots that might need it. There's also this one, a little scale button. This will kind of get the average of contrast. So this will work kind of like the black dot, white dot, but for contrasty areas. And it'll kind of snap to it, as you can see here, if it wants to. So it's very temperamental, but we'll get the thing to solve regardless. So most of the time I use this. It's pretty good. It gets things done quick. So now we know that and what to do and understand what parallax is supposed to be. We're going to understand how the camera is moving. So as you can see, the camera is moving to the left, and our focus would be to make the camera move to the left, and we did. And that's it. That's tracking. In a nutshell, we're just trying to get this 2D plate into a 3D world to be able to do our cool effects like a transformer or a wizard over here or something. So with that said, let's get to it. Let's get tracking and understanding what to do.